The UNHS Eden's white hull sparkled against the backdrop of distant stars, its 1 kilometer length dwarfing the supply ships that regularly docked with it. Medical bay windows glowed with soft blue light, creating a pattern that reminded approaching vessels of a heartbeat. Inside those walls, over 5,000 medical personnel from Earth worked tirelessly to save lives from across the galaxy. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at her primary research station, dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing protein structures rotating in the air before her. Her fingers, steady from decades of surgical experience, manipulated the complex molecular chains with practiced precision. The antimicrobial-resistant Carina plague had already claimed millions of lives across 3 sectors, but something in today's results looked different. Dr. Chen, the ship's AI announced, its voice calibrated to be soothing yet clear. The latest batch of simulations is complete. Would you like to review the results? Sarah brushed a strand of gray-streaked hair from her face and nodded. Display them, Eden. And could you ask Dr. Patel to join me? He should see this too. New data streams appeared in the air around her. Sarah's eyes widened as she processed the information. After 6 months of continuous research, the modified treatment was showing a 98% effectiveness rate across all tested species. The remaining 2% showed marked improvement, even if not complete recovery. Dr. Raj Patel arrived moments later, his dark blue medical uniform bearing the distinctive silver stripe of the Xenobiology Department. Sarah, Eden said you found something. Look at these protein folding patterns, she said, expanding a particular section of the display. The nanoadapters are finally maintaining stability across different biological frameworks. We can help them all, Raj, not just the humanoid species. In the beds beyond their research station, patients from 12 different species rested in environmentally customized chambers. Some breathed methane, others fluorine compounds, and a few required no atmosphere at all. The Eden had been built to accommodate them all, its medical bays designed with flexibility that bordered on art. Running final verification now, Eden announced. Estimated completion in 3 minutes. A soft chime drew their attention to the ship's primary communication display. Dr. Chen, Captain Laura Martinez's voice came through clearly. We're picking up some unusual energy readings at the edge of our sensor range. Probably nothing, but protocol requires me to inform medical staff of any anomalies. Understood, Captain, Sarah replied, already turning back to her work. The Eden's position in space was well known and protected by international treaties. They had nothing to fear. The verification completed with a gentle tone. Sarah allowed herself a small smile as she studied the results. Eden, prepare a data packet for transmission to Earth Medical Command. Priority Level 1. Include all our research data, treatment protocols, and success rates. Composing transmission now, Dr. Eden responded. Would you like to record a personal message to accompany the data? Sarah nodded, clearing her throat. This is Dr. Sarah Chen, Chief Medical Officer of the UNHS Eden. After 6 months of dedicated research, I'm pleased to report we've developed a universal treatment for the Carina plague. The modified nanite therapy shows unprecedented success rates across all tested species. We're ready to begin mass production and distribution. The Eden's manufacturing facilities can produce enough treatment for 10,000 patients per day. We recommend immediate deployment of additional medical ships to the affected sectors to assist with distribution. She paused, looking around at her team, humans all, but dedicated to saving every sentient being they could reach. The plague doesn't discriminate between species, and neither do we. Eden out. The massive hospital ship continued its graceful orbit around the star Carina Beta, its engines humming quietly as they maintained position. In the distance, those strange energy readings grew stronger, but the Eden sensors, designed for medical diagnostics rather than tactical analysis, failed to recognize the threat they represented. The night shift was just beginning their rounds when the first warship appeared. The first blast hit the Eden before the proximity alarms could finish their initial warning. Emergency lights flooded the corridors with red as the ship's gentle hum transformed into a desperate whine. 3 Kraken warships materialized from hyperspace, their black hulls absorbing nearby starlight like cosmic predators. Multiple hull breaches detected, Eden's AI announced, its soothing voice maintaining composure even as damage reports flooded in. Emergency containment fields activating. All personnel proceed to designated safety zones. Dr. Chen grabbed the edge of her research station as the deck shuddered beneath her feet. Eden, initiate emergency data protocols. Begin transmission to Earth Medical Command immediately. Her fingers flew across the holographic interface, adding last-minute annotations to their research data. Warning! Eden's voice cut through the chaos. Hostile vessels are attempting to jam communications, switching to quantum channels, beginning data burst transmission. Captain Martinez's voice crackled through the speakers, distorted but urgent. All medical staff, begin emergency patient evacuation procedures. Security teams to critical sections. This is not a drill. In the intensive care unit, Dr. Patel and his team worked frantically to stabilize their most critical patients. The specialized environmental chambers required constant power to maintain alien-compatible atmospheres. As another blast rocked the ship, backup generators kicked in, their steady hum providing temporary relief. "We need to move the Centaurian patients first," Patel shouted over the alarms. "Their atmosphere is the most volatile. Johnson, help me with the portable life support units." Through the medical bay's panoramic windows, Sarah watched in horror as one of the Kraken ships moved into position directly above them. Its weapon ports glowed with gathering energy. The Eden's minimal defensive shields, designed only to deflect space debris and solar radiation, flickered weakly against the assault. Data transmission at 60%, Eden reported, attempting to boost signal strength. Sarah's hand steadied as she made her final adjustments to the data packet. Years of surgical experience had taught her to remain calm in crisis. "Eden, add my personal logs and research notes. Everything we've learned about the plague's mutation patterns." The ship lurched violently as another blast tore through the lower decks. Through the chaos, Sarah heard Dr. Patel's voice. "Environmental controls failing in sections 3 through 7. We're losing containment." Transmission at 85%, Eden announced, "Warning, shield failure imminent." Sarah looked up from her station to see medical staff rushing past, guiding floating stretchers carrying critical patients. Some of the alien patients required complete environmental suits, their various appendages and breathing apparatus making their forms seem otherworldly in the red emergency lighting. "Captain," Sarah called through the comm system, "how many evacuation pods are still functional?" "Not enough," Martinez replied grimly. "We've launched what we could, but most of our escape systems were damaged in the first strike. They knew exactly where to hit us." The largest Kraken ship moved into position, its weapon ports aligned with the Eden's central medical section. Sarah felt an odd sense of calm as she watched it, knowing what would come next. "Transmission complete," Eden announced. "Data received and verified by Earth Medical Command." Sarah took a deep breath. "Eden, final log entry. The cure works. We proved it works across all species. Don't let them bury this. Don't let them." The blast caught the Eden amidships, tearing through its minimal armor like paper. The great hospital ship, pride of Earth's humanitarian fleet, broke apart in a silent explosion that lit up the Carina sector like a new star. Hours later, when the first Earth response ships arrived, they found only debris and bodies floating in the void. Among the wreckage, they discovered something that would fuel humanity's response. Security footage showing Eden's medical staff using their final moments not to escape, but to protect their patients, regardless of species. The Kraken ships had already fled, leaving behind a message buoy claiming a tragic targeting error. They didn't know that Dr. Chen's final transmission had already reached Earth, carrying not just the cure for the plague, but evidence of their deliberate attack on a clearly marked hospital ship. Admiral James Torres stood at his kitchen window, watching Earth's sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. The rolling hills of his Montana ranch stretched out before him, peaceful in the fading light. His retirement badge sat on the counter beside a steaming cup of coffee, its surface reflecting the evening news holoprojection. The news anchor's voice filled the quiet room. Breaking news from the Carina sector. The UNHCR's Eden, Earth's premier hospital ship, has been destroyed in what the Craxan Imperium claims was a tragic navigation error. Early reports indicate all hands were lost, including renowned medical researcher Dr. Sarah Chen and her team off. Torres muted the projection, his weathered hands gripping the counter's edge. At 63, his face bore the marks of past battles. A thin scar running from his left temple to jaw, earned during the Proxima conflict. He hoped never to see another war, but the tension in his muscles told him that hope was about to fade. His personal communicator chimed with an urgent tone he hadn't heard in 5 years. The small device projected the seal of Earth's Security Council. Without hesitation, he answered. Admiral Torres. Council Chairman Liu's hologram appeared in his kitchen, looking grim. I apologize for disturbing your retirement. You wouldn't call unless it was necessary, Marcus. Torres moved to his study, where a secure communication suite lay hidden behind wooden panels. I saw the news about the Eden. What you haven't seen is Dr. Chen's final transmission. Liu's image flickered as the chairman transferred data. The Eden wasn't just carrying patients, James. They'd found a cure for the Carina plague. A universal cure. Torres activated his secure display, watching footage from the Eden's last moments. His jaw tightened as he saw the deliberate precision of the Craxan strikes, targeting life support, escape pods, and medical facilities first. They knew exactly what they were doing. The Craxan ambassador claims their ships mistook the Eden for a suspected bioweapons research vessel. Liu's voice carried barely contained anger, but Dr. Chen's transmission included proof that Craxan spies had infiltrated their network weeks ago. They knew it was a hospital ship. They knew about the cure. And they didn't want it distributed, Torres finished, already understanding. The plague has been helping them consolidate power in disputed sectors. A cure would have stabilized those regions. The Security Council is convening an emergency session in 1 hour. The War Fleet Protocol is being put to a vote. Liu paused, his hologram studying Torres carefully. We need you back, James. The fleet needs its admiral. Torres walked back to his window. In the distance, stars were beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Each one potentially held worlds affected by the Carina plague, worlds that would never receive the Eden's cure. The war fleet hasn't been activated in decades, Torres said quietly. Most of our current officers have never seen real combat. But you have. You wrote half the fleet's combat protocols. Liu leaned forward. More importantly, you understand what we're really fighting for. Torres picked up his retirement badge, running his thumb over its worn surface. When does my transport arrive? 20 minutes. There's a uniform waiting aboard. Liu's relief was visible even through the hologram. Welcome back to active duty, Admiral. As the chairman's image faded, Torres opened a hidden panel in his study wall. Inside hung his old dress uniform, preserved perfectly these 5 years. His fingers traced the Admiral's stripes as memories of past battles surfaced. Computer, he spoke to the housed AI. Begin property shutdown procedures. Activate security protocols. He paused, looking at a photo of the Eden that had appeared on his newsfeed, and send a message to my staff. Quote, they didn't just kill our people. They killed what we stand for. End quote. High above, the first stars of evening sparkled against the darkening sky. Soon Earth's war fleet would sail among them once again, not for conquest or revenge, but for justice. As Torres donned his uniform, he made a silent promise to the Eden's lost crew. Their sacrifice would not be in vain. Deep within the asteroid belt, automated shipyards stirred to life for the first time in decades. Massive fabrication arms extended from their berths, their movements precise despite their long dormancy. Admiral Torres watched from the command deck of Station Aurora as kilometers of machinery awakened around him. Station systems at 100% operational capacity, Aurora's AI reported, its voice echoing through the vast chamber, beginning final diagnostic checks on the primary fleet. Through the reinforced windows, Torres could see the first of Earth's defenders emerging from their long sleep. The UES Retribution, his new flagship, hung suspended in the void, its titanium alloy hull catching the distant sunlight. At 2 kilometers in length, it represented the pinnacle of human military engineering. Status report on the Retribution's neural network. Torres commanded, his dress uniform now replaced by a practical fleet commander's suit. The ship's AI core has completed its initialization sequence, Aurora responded. Combat systems are running at optimal levels. The adaptive learning algorithms have already processed all available data on cracks in battle tactics from the Eden incident. Lieutenant Sarah Martinez stepped onto the command deck, her young face a stark reminder of what the next generation might face. Admiral, you should see this. She held up a datapad displaying messages from across Earth's colonies. Every retired fleet officer has volunteered to return to service. Even the civilian merchant ships are offering to convert for support roles. Torres nodded, unsurprised by humanity's unity in the face of tragedy. How many ships will be ready in the first wave? 7 capital ships, including the Retribution, Martinez reported. The support fleet of 20 lighter vessels will be operational within 48 hours. Each ship's medical bay has been upgraded with specifications from the Eden's database. Through the window, more ships appeared from their asteroid hangars. The UES Sentinel and UES Guardian flanked the Retribution, their sleek forms designed for both speed and power. Behind them, the smaller but equally lethal UES Swift Justice and UES Righteous Cause moved into formation. Sir, Aurora interrupted, we're receiving a transmission from the Kraxan diplomatic course. Display it, Torres ordered, his voice steady. A holographic image appeared, showing the Kraxan ambassador. Admiral Torres, we again extend our deepest regrets for the tragic misidentification that led to the Eden incident. We hope this unfortunate event won't undo centuries of peaceful. Torres raised his hand, silencing the transmission. Aurora, analyze their communication signals. Track the source. Signal originated from their embassy on Mars, Aurora confirmed. However, I'm detecting encrypted transmissions being sent from their fleet gathering in the Carina sector. They're preparing for our response, Martinez observed, studying the tactical display. No, Torres corrected, a small smile forming. They're preparing for the response they would give. That's why they'll fail. He turned to address the growing number of officers on the command deck. The Kraxan expect us to seek revenge, to strike at their worlds the way they struck at our hospital ship. They don't understand that Earth's fleet stands for something greater. The tactical display showed more ships joining the formation. The UES Mercy's Light, a state-of-the-art medical vessel, took its position behind the combat ships. Its hull bore the same markings as the Eden, but now protected by the most powerful ships in Earth's arsenal. Update from Earth Command, Martinez announced. The fleet mobilization has been leaked to civilian channels. The public response, she paused, reading the data, they're calling it the Shield of Eden Protocol. Torres watched as the final ship in the first wave, the UES Renaissance, moved into position. Its specialized communication arrays would ensure that every world would witness what happened next. Set course for the Carina sector, Torres commanded. All ships to maintain formation around the Mercy's Light. Let them see that even now, even after everything, we still come to heal as well as defend. The war fleet engaged their drives in perfect synchronization, the massive ships moving like dancers in the void. They carried with them not just weapons of war, but the promise of the Eden, that humanity would always strive to heal, to help, to protect. As they accelerated toward their jump point, Torres sent one final message to Earth Command. The fleet sails for justice, not vengeance. We will show them the difference. The UES Renaissance glided silently through cracks in space, its advanced stealth systems rendering it invisible to standard detection arrays. Inside its specialized communication center, Lieutenant Martinez watched as her team made final adjustments to the quantum broadcast array. All transmitters synchronized. Admiral, she reported, looking up at Torres, who stood studying the tactical display. We're ready to begin the broadcast as soon as we reach optimal range. Torres nodded, his eyes fixed on the holographic representation of Craxan territory before him. The Retribution and escort fleet are in position. Yes, sir. They're holding just outside the Carina defense perimeter. The Craxan forces are exactly where we predicted. They're expecting a direct assault. The display showed dozens of Craxan warships clustered around their primary military installations. They had prepared for a traditional human response: missiles, energy weapons, and tactical strikes. What they would get instead was something far more powerful. Begin the broadcast, Torres commanded. All frequencies, all channels, all platforms. Martinez pressed her hand to the quantum interface, initiating the sequence. Across Craxan space, every communication device, every entertainment screen, every public display suddenly activated. The Eden's final moments began playing, but not as a simple recording of destruction. The broadcast showed Dr. Chen working to save lives until the very end. It showed human medical staff using their bodies to shield alien patients from falling debris. It revealed the Craxan ship's targeting systems, clearly identifying the Eden as a medical vessel before firing. Most importantly, it showed the faces and names of every patient aboard, including hundreds of Craxan citizens who had sought treatment for the plague. First reports coming in from our monitoring stations, Martinez announced. The broadcast is penetrating all their communication networks. They can't shut it down. On the tactical display, indicators began appearing across Craxan space. Public gatherings formed in major cities. Military vessels reported crew unrest. The truth, presented without commentary or accusation, was doing what no weapon could. Sir, Martinez's voice carried a note of surprise. We're receiving transmissions from within Craxan territory. Their own citizens are sharing additional footage. Hospital workers who treated plague victims, families of patients who were aboard the Eden. Torres watched as the Craxan military response became increasingly disorganized. Their own population's reaction had caught them completely off guard. Begin Phase 2, he ordered quietly. The Renaissance's quantum computers activated, sending targeting data to the waiting fleet. 3 specific signatures had been identified, the exact warships responsible for the Eden's destruction. While the Craxan military scrambled to maintain order, Earth's fleet moved with surgical precision. The Retribution led the assault, its advanced weapons systems bypassing the Craxan defense grid completely. The 3 targeted ships never had a chance to raise their shields. Within moments, their engines and weapons were disabled, leaving them helpless but intact. Broadcast channel open to all Craxan frequencies, Martinez reported. Torres stepped forward, his voice clear and controlled. This is Admiral James Torres of the Earth Defense Fleet. We have disabled the vessels responsible for attacking our hospital ship. Their crews are unharmed. The UES Mercy's Light is moving to render medical assistance to any injured personnel. He paused, letting the words sink in. We could have destroyed these ships. We could have taken revenge. Instead, we chose to show you the truth and deliver precise justice. Remember this moment. Remember that Earth's response to an attack on our healers was to continue their mission of saving lives. The Mercy's Light moved into position, its medical teams already preparing to board the disabled vessels. Across Craxan space, the population watched as human doctors once again risked themselves to help others, even those who had attacked them. Sir, Martinez said softly, we're receiving surrender signals from the disabled ships. And she checked her readings again. Requests for medical assistance from 17 Craxan worlds affected by the plague. Torres nodded, a quiet satisfaction in his expression. Send them Dr. Chen's cure protocols. All of them. Let them see what the Eden was trying to give them freely before they struck it down. The UES Retribution's bridge hummed with quiet efficiency as Admiral Torres studied the latest battle projections. Holographic displays showed the positions of both fleets, Earth's ships arranged in an elegant defensive formation, while the Kraxan vessels maintained their aggressive stance. The Kraxan 8th Fleet is moving to engage, Admiral Lieutenant Martinez reported from her tactical station. Their formation suggests they're attempting to replicate our precision strike patterns. Torres allowed himself a small smile. They're learning, but they're missing the point. Signal the Swift Justice and Guardian. Execute Protocol Eden's Shield. The two Earth vessels moved with fluid grace, their advanced drives creating patterns of light that rippled through space. The Kraxan ships adjusted their targeting systems, trying to track the complex maneuvers, but Earth's vessels seemed to dance between their weapon locks. All ships initiate containment procedures, Torres commanded. Remember, we're here to disable, not destroy. The battle that followed resembled a choreographed performance more than traditional combat. The Swift Justice's energy web caught two Kraxan cruisers, temporarily disrupting their systems without causing permanent damage. The Guardian's precision strikes disabled weapon systems with surgical accuracy, leaving life support and crew quarters untouched. Sir, Martinez's voice carried a note of amazement. The Kraxan crews, they're recording the battle and transmitting it to their home worlds. They want their people to see this. On the main display, Torres watched as the Mercy's light moved efficiently between disabled ships, its medical teams deploying to treat any injured crew members. The sight of human doctors helping Kraxan sailors just hours after combat was spreading across their networks. Message from the Kraxan flagship Unyielding Might, Martinez announced. Their admiral wishes to speak with you. Torres straightened his uniform. On screen, the Kraxan admiral appeared, his scaled features set in an expression of confusion. Admiral Torres, your tactics, they defy traditional military doctrine. Why do you not press your advantage? Why do your medical ships risk themselves to save our crews? Because this isn't about military doctrine, Torres replied calmly. This is about showing you who we are. The Eden wasn't just a ship. It was a symbol of humanity's commitment to healing. Every battle we fight honors that commitment. As they spoke, the Renaissance transmitted new data across Kraxan space. Footage from the Eden's archives showing successful treatments, recovered patients, and Dr. Chen's breakthroughs. The images of Kraxan citizens being healed alongside other species created a powerful contrast to the current conflict. We're receiving new signals, Martinez reported. 3 more Kraxan colony worlds are requesting medical assistance. Their local governments are breaking from Central Command to seek help with the plague. Torres turned back to the Kraxan admiral's image. Your people are dying needlessly. The Eden have the cure. We still have it. All this, he gestured to the disabled ships, is not about victory through destruction. It's about showing you a better way. The Kraxan admiral was silent for a long moment. Our high command ordered us to prevent the cure's distribution. They believed it would weaken our position in disputed territories. But watching your ships, seeing how you fight. He paused. Perhaps there is more strength in healing than in conquest. Sir, Martinez interrupted. The Mercy's light reports all injured Kraxan crew members have been treated. They're requesting permission to proceed to the colony worlds requesting aid. Torres nodded, then addressed the Kraxan admiral again. Your ships are disabled but repairable. Your crews are healed. We will leave repair crews to assist you, but the Mercy's light has more urgent work to do. The choice of what happens next is yours. The Kraxan admiral's scales shifted, and what Torres had learned was a sign of deep thought. If I ordered my remaining ships to escort your medical vessel to the colonies, would you trust such an offer? Trust, Torres replied, like healing, has to start somewhere. The Kraxan Supreme Fleet emerged from hyperspace just beyond Mars' orbit, their massive dreadnoughts casting long shadows across the solar system. 300 ships strong, It represented the largest defensive force ever assembled by their empire. Their target, Earth itself. In Earth's Orbital Defense Command, Lieutenant Martinez stood at her station, her hands steady on the holographic controls. Multiple hostile signatures detected. Admiral. They're deploying in attack formation. Admiral Torres, recalled from the Carina sector for this moment, studied the tactical display with calm focus. Status of the Orbital Defense Network. Atlas Grid is fully operational, Martinez reported. All defensive satellites are powered and tracking. Civilian evacuation to the underground shelters is at 98% completion. The Kraxan fleet advance with obvious confidence, their scanners showing Earth's orbital defense fleet reduced to a skeleton crew. Most of humanity's warships were deployed across Kraxan space, helping distribute medical aid to plague-stricken worlds. They think we left our home undefended, Torres observed quietly. That we sacrificed security for our humanitarian mission. He straightened his uniform. Let's show them how wrong they are. Activate the Atlas Grid. Across Earth's orbit, thousands of seemingly dormant satellites suddenly blazed to life. The Kraxan fleet found themselves surrounded by a web of advanced defensive platforms, each one containing technology derived from the Eden's medical precision systems. Atlas Grid fully powered, Martinez announced. Targeting solutions acquired. Awaiting your command, sir. The Kraxan Supreme Commander's transmission cut through all channels. This ends today, humans. You've undermined our authority, turned our colonies against us, and weakened our position in the galaxy. Surrender now, or we will reduce your world to ash. Torres allowed himself a small smile. Atlas Grid, initiate Protocol Starlight. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations. The defensive grid didn't launch devastating weapons or unleash planet-killing forces. Instead, it created the most sophisticated containment field ever designed. Beams of pure energy connected the satellites, forming intricate geometric patterns around the Kraxan fleet. Their weapons fire dissipated harmlessly against the field, transformed into spectacular auroras visible from Earth's surface. Children pointed at the sky, watching what seemed to be the most beautiful light show ever created. Their primary weapons are fully contained, Martinez reported, wonder in her voice. Power readings show zero leakage to Earth's atmosphere. The grid is operating at optimal efficiency. The Kraxan fleet's frustration showed in their increasingly erratic maneuvers. Each attempt to break through the defensive web only added to the celestial display. Their most powerful weapons became nothing more than contributions to the artwork being painted across Earth's sky. Send the prepared transmission, Torres ordered. Every screen in the Kraxan fleet activated, showing images from their own worlds. Children receiving the plague cure, families reunited, military personnel working alongside human medical teams. The final image showed the Eden's last moments, followed by footage of Earth's response, not revenge, but healing. Your weapons cannot harm us, Torres broadcast to the fleet. Not because we are stronger, but because we chose to transform our medical breakthroughs into defensive technology. The same precision that lets us cure your people now protects our world. The Kraxan Supreme Commander's voice had lost its certainty. How? How can you be so advanced and yet waste your technology on healing rather than conquest? Because that's what makes us human, Torres replied simply. The Eden taught us that true power lies in preservation, not destruction. Your fleet is contained but unharmed. Your crews are safe, and our offer of medical assistance still stands. Martinez's console lit up with new data. Sir, we're receiving surrender signals from multiple Kraxan vessels and requests for medical evacuation. Some of their crews are showing symptoms of the plague. Torres nodded. Signal the Mercy's light. Tell them to prepare for emergency treatment of 300 ships worth of patients. He looked up at the spectacular light show above his world. After all, what better way to end a fight than by healing those who tried to harm us? 6 months after the Battle of Earth's orbit, Admiral Torres stood in the observation deck of the newly commissioned UNHS Eden II. The massive hospital ship dwarfed its predecessor, its pristine white hull gleaming against the backdrop of stars. This time, however, it wasn't alone. Escort fleet reports all systems normal, Lieutenant Martinez, now Captain Martinez, announced from her station. The Kraxan medical frigates are maintaining formation perfectly. Through the panoramic windows, Torres watched the joint fleet move through space. Earth's warships sailed alongside Kraxan vessels, their crews working together to protect the medical mission. What had begun in tragedy had transformed into something unprecedented. Status report from Medical Bay 1, the Eden News AI announced. Dr. Chen's successor program has cleared another 1,000 patients. Recovery rate holding at 99.8%. Torres smiled at the mention of Chen's name. The late doctor's research hadn't just cured the plague, it had revolutionized interspecies medicine. The Eden TI carried on her legacy, its laboratories continuing to push the boundaries of healing. Incoming transmission from the Kraxan High Council, Martinez reported. They're ready for the ceremony. The main display activated, showing the grand chamber of the Kraxan capital. Their new leadership stood before an assembled crowd of representatives from across known space. Behind them hung two flags, their own, and the medical insignia of the Eden. 6 months ago, the Kraxan High Speaker began, "We faced a choice between power and progress. We chose poorly, and it took human wisdom to show us a better path." The speaker's scales shimmered with emotion. "Today, we ratify the Eden Accords, establishing the first interstellar medical exchange." Torres watched as representatives from 27 species stepped forward to sign the agreement. Each had witnessed Earth's response to the Eden's destruction. Each had seen humanity transform an act of war into an opportunity for healing. "Message from Earth Command," Martinez said softly. "The last plague outbreak has been officially contained. Dr. Chen's cure worked exactly as she predicted." The observation deck's display shifted to show celebrations breaking out across multiple worlds. Species that had once been bitter enemies now worked side by side in joint medical facilities. The Eden U's mission had expanded far beyond its original scope, becoming a symbol of unity. "Admiral," the Eden U's AI interrupted, "we're receiving a priority request from the Kraxan border worlds. They're asking permission to begin construction of their own hospital ships based on the Eden's designs." Torres nodded, remembering the Eden's final moments. "Send them everything. The complete technical specifications, medical protocols, all of it. That's what Dr. Chen would have wanted." The ceremony continued on the main screen, but Torres' attention was drawn to a small detail outside. A Kraxan warship, one of those that had originally attacked the Eden, now served as a medical transport. Its weapon ports had been converted to house emergency response shells, its hull repainted with the universal symbol for healing. "Captain Martinez," Torres said quietly, "send a message to all ships in the fleet. Have them power up their engines for the synchronized jump." Martinez smiled, understanding the significance. "Just like the first Eden's maiden voyage, sir." "Exactly." Torres straightened his uniform. "But this time, we jumped together, all species, all ships, united in one mission." The combined fleet aligned itself, preparing for the jump to their next destination. Earth's warships and Kraxan vessels, hospital ships and converted cruisers, all moving in perfect harmony. As the countdown began, Torres thought of Dr. Chen and her team, of their sacrifice and its unexpected legacy. "All ships report ready," Martinez announced. "The Kraxan escorts are asking to lead the formation, a gesture of trust." Torres nodded, his voice carrying the weight of history. "Tell them yes. After all, that's what the Eden stood for, not just healing bodies, but healing divides between species." He paused, watching the fleet prepare to jump. In the end, they didn't just strike a hospital ship. They struck a spark that lit the way forward for all of us. The massive fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed by humanity's choice to heal rather than harm, to unite rather than divide, to rise above revenge and reach for something greater.